An 8-year-old girl's small act of kindness, a simple sandwich given to a homeless man, triggered a chain of events that unraveled a mystery, brought a shocking revelation, and ended in a reunion no one anticipated. The sun dipped low over Springfield, Ohio, casting shades of orange and purple across the sleepy neighborhood. Anna, a bright and curious 8-year-old, sat cross-legged on her front porch, swinging her legs as she sketched in her worn notebook. Drawing had always been her favorite pastime, but today her thoughts were restless. Her teacher, Mrs. Allen, had spent the week talking about the power of kindness. Even the smallest gestures can make a difference, she often said. Anna's mind kept circling back to this idea. She wanted to do something meaningful, though she didn't yet know what that would be. Inside the house, her parents, Jenna and Mark, were busy tidying up after dinner. "Anna," Jenna called out, "don't forget to pack your lunch for tomorrow." Anna nodded and skipped into the kitchen. She carefully assembled her lunch, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, an apple, and a small pack of cookies, tucking everything neatly into her bright yellow lunchbox. The next morning, the walk to school seemed like any other. Anna clutched her lunchbox in one hand and her notebook in the other, humming softly as she walked. As she passed the park near her school, something made her stop. A man sat alone on a weathered bench. His clothes were tattered, his hair disheveled, and his face etched with deep lines of exhaustion. Anna had noticed him before, but today he seemed especially weary. She slowed her steps, watching him from a distance. Other children walked past without a second glance, but Anna couldn't ignore the weight in his posture. Their eyes briefly met, and in his gaze, Anna saw gratitude mixed with an overwhelming sadness. She hesitated but then continued walking to school, her thoughts clouded with concern. All morning, Anna found it hard to concentrate in class. Her teacher's words faded into the background as her mind kept drifting back to the man on the bench. When lunchtime came, Anna sat quietly in the cafeteria, her unopened lunchbox resting on the table. Around her, friends laughed and chattered, but Anna remained in her own world. She opened her lunchbox, staring at the sandwich her mom had cut into neat triangles, just the way she liked. With a sigh, she closed the lid. "I'm not that hungry," she murmured. When the lunch bell rang, Anna slipped the lunchbox into her backpack and walked toward the park instead of the playground. Gravel crunched under her small feet as she approached the bench. The man was still there, his hands clasped and gaze distant. "Hi," Anna said softly, her voice barely audible. The man looked up, startled. His eyes softened as he saw her. "Hi there," he replied, his voice deep but kind. Without saying much, Anna unzipped her backpack and pulled out the yellow lunchbox. "I thought you might like this," she said, extending it to him. The man stared at her, as though struggling to process the gesture. "For me?" he asked, his voice trembling. Anna nodded, her ponytail bouncing. "Yeah, my mom always packs too much anyway." With trembling hands, the man accepted the lunchbox. A faint smile appeared, cracking through his weary expression. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you so much." "You're welcome," Anna chirped, a wave of joy washing over her. She waved goodbye and skipped back to school, leaving behind the man and unknowingly planting a seed of hope. The next morning began as usual. The smell of coffee filled the house as Anna's dad read the newspaper at the kitchen table. But before long, a knock at the door interrupted the quiet routine. Mark opened it to find 2 police officers standing on the porch. Jenna, alarmed, joined him at the door. "Is everything okay?" Mark asked. The officer nodded. "We believe so, but we need to ask about your daughter, Anna." Jenna's heart raced. "What about hers?" The officer explained how a man at the park had been seen with Anna the previous day. He had come to the station, holding the yellow lunchbox, asking for help. The man wasn't just a stranger. He had been missing for years, his family desperately searching for him. As the officers shared more, Anna appeared behind her parents, listening wide-eyed. She couldn't believe her simple act of kindness had led to this moment. Later that day, Anna stood beside her parents as the man reunited with his family. Tears flowed freely, and Anna felt a deep sense of warmth. Her small gesture, Just a sandwich in a bright yellow lunchbox had changed someone's life in ways she never could have imagined. It was a lesson Anna would carry forever. Kindness, no matter how small, has the power to create miracles. Her parents stood behind her as whispers and speculation filled the air outside their home. Jenna, protective as ever, tightened her arm around Anna's shoulder. Mark sighed, running a hand through his hair as he glanced at the growing crowd. "Why are they here?" Anna asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "People talk when something out of the ordinary happens," Jenna replied softly, though there was an edge to her tone. Mark glanced out the window again. "Let's step outside and talk to them before this gets out of hand." Jenna hesitated, but eventually nodded. They both walked out to meet the neighbors, leaving Anna inside, watching nervously from the window. A middle-aged woman with tightly curled hair was the first to speak. "Mark, Jenna, is it true what we're hearing? The police came because of Anna?" Mark raised a hand to calm the small crowd. "Yes, officers came by earlier. But it's nothing bad, just a follow-up about a man Anna helped at the park." "A homeless man," another neighbor interjected, frowning. "Why would Anna be talking to someone like that?" Jenna stiffened. "Because she saw someone in need and decided to help. That's all." "It's dangerous," a man in a baseball cap chimed in. "You don't know what people like that are capable of. What if he had hurt hers?" "She wasn't in any danger," Jenna replied firmly, her protective instincts flaring. Mark took a deep breath and spoke calmly. "Look, I understand your concerns, but this man wasn't dangerous. He's a veteran, struggling with memory loss. Thanks to Anna, he's being reunited with his family. If anything, we should be proud of her." A few neighbors murmured their agreement, but others still seemed uneasy. Inside, Anna could hear snippets of the conversation through the open window. She felt a mixture of pride and confusion. Had she done something wrong by helping Mr. Grayson? Her thoughts were interrupted by a gentle knock on the door. Anna turned to see one of the police officers from earlier. He smiled warmly. "May I come in?" Anna nodded, stepping aside. The officer crouched down to her level. "Hey, Anna. I wanted to check in on you. How are you feeling about all of this?" Anna hesitated. "I'm okay, I think. But did I mess up? People outside don't seem happy." The officer shook his head. "You didn't mess up, Anna. What you did was brave and kind. Sometimes people don't understand things right away, but that doesn't mean you were wrong." Anna's eyes searched his face for reassurance. "Did Mr. Grayson really have a family?" "Yes," the officer said, his tone softening. "A daughter about your age. When he talked about you, it helped us figure out who he was. His family is on their way to see him now." Anna's heart lifted. "That's good, right?" "It's more than good. It's amazing." Just then, Jenna and Mark walked back inside, their expressions a mix of frustration and relief. "Everything okay out there?" the officer asked. "For now," Mark replied, his voice tight. "But people can be skeptical." The officer nodded knowingly. "It's natural. Sometimes kindness catches people off guard." He turned back to Anna. "But don't ever let that stop you from being kind, okay?" Anna smiled faintly. "Okay." Later that evening, the Parkers sat together in their living room, the tension from earlier replaced by a quieter, reflective mood. Anna snuggled up next to her mom, her notebook in her lap. "Do you think Mr. Grayson's family will be happy to see him?" she asked. Jenna stroked Anna's hair. "I think they'll be overjoyed, sweetie. And they'll be so grateful to you." Mark chimed in. "What you did, Anna, is something most people wouldn't have thought to do. You didn't just feed someone, you gave them hope." Anna looked down at her notebook, doodling absent-mindedly. "I just wanted to help." "And you did," Jenna said firmly. That night, as Anna lay in bed, she thought about Mr. Grayson and his family. She wondered what it would feel like to see someone you thought was lost forever. A sense of warmth filled her chest as she drifted off to sleep, knowing that in her own small way, she had made the world a little brighter. Outside, the neighborhood settled back into its quiet rhythm, though whispers of Anna's story lingered. Some criticized, some praised, but all were touched by the reminder that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can lead to the biggest changes. Tears welled up in Samuel's eyes as he gently took the notebook from Anna's small hands. His rough fingers traced the lines of the drawing as if the simple image carried the weight of all the kindness he had experienced in the past few days. "It's beautiful," he said softly, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you, Anna. I'll treasure this." Clara's eyes glistened as she watched the interaction. She crouched down to Anna's level, taking the little girl's hands in hers. "You have no idea what you've done for us. We searched everywhere for Samuel. We were starting to lose hope. But your kindness, it brought him back to us." Anna tilted her head, still struggling to understand why everyone was making such a big deal out of what she thought was a small gesture. "I just wanted to help," she said quietly. "And you did. More than you'll ever know," Clara replied, her voice breaking slightly. Mark and Jenna stood nearby, their emotions wavering between pride and awe. Mark cleared his throat, his voice steady but soft. "Why don't you both come in? You must have had a long drive." As Clara guided Samuel into the living room, Jenna quickly grabbed some tea and snacks from the kitchen. The atmosphere was warm, despite the late hour. Samuel sat down carefully on the couch, glancing around as if trying to absorb every detail of the Parker home. "I don't remember much," he began hesitantly, his voice low. "The past few months have been a blur. Faces, places all jumbled together. But I remember Anna. I remember that sandwich. It wasn't just food, it was hope." Anna listened intently, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She had never thought of a sandwich as anything special, but hearing Samuel's words made her realize how much it had meant to him. Clara leaned forward, her hand resting gently on Samuel's arm. "When we got the call from the police, we couldn't believe it. We'd been praying for months that we'd find him safe. And now here he is, because of your daughter." Jenna wiped a tear from her cheek. Anna has always been a kind soul. She notices things most people overlook. Clara smiled warmly at Anna. "That's a gift, you know. Never lose it." As the evening went on, the Parkers and the Graysons shared stories and laughter. Samuel's voice grew steadier as he talked about his memories of his wife and daughter, bits and pieces coming back to him as Clara filled in the gaps. Anna sat quietly, doodling in her notebook as she listened. She felt a strange warmth in her chest, a mix of pride, happiness, and something deeper she couldn't quite name. When it was time for the Graysons to leave, Clara hugged each of the Parkers tightly. "We'll never forget this. If there's ever anything we can do to repay you, please let us know." Samuel bent down to Anna's level, holding the notebook close to his chest. "Thank you, Anna. You didn't just give me a sandwich. You gave me a reason to keep going." Anna smiled shyly, her cheeks turning pink. "You're welcome." As the Graysons drove away, the Parkers stood on the porch, watching the taillights fade into the distance. The night was quiet again, the neighborhood still and calm. Mark placed a hand on Anna's shoulder. "You've done something incredible, kiddo." Jenna nodded, pulling Anna into a hug. "We're so proud of you." Anna leaned into her mom, her heart feeling fuller than ever. She didn't understand all the fuss, but she knew one thing for sure. Kindness, no matter how small, could change the world. The next morning, as Anna walked to school, she passed the park bench where she had first seen Samuel. It was empty now, but it didn't feel lonely anymore. Instead, it seemed to hold a quiet reminder that even the smallest acts of compassion could ripple outward, touching lives in ways she might never fully understand. And as Anna skipped down the path, humming softly to herself, she made a silent promise to always keep noticing the people others might overlook. Because sometimes, all it took was one small act of kindness to make the biggest difference. The weeks following Samuel Grayson's reunion brought a quiet but powerful change to the neighborhood. The initial skepticism from some neighbors turned into genuine interest in helping those in need. Local churches organized food drives, community centers started outreach programs, and people began to look at the homeless not with suspicion, but with understanding and compassion. For Anna, life returned to its normal rhythm. She went to school, worked on her drawings, and packed her lunch each morning as usual. But something inside her had shifted. She began to notice things she might have overlooked before: a stray cat by the park, an elderly neighbor struggling with their groceries, a classmate sitting alone at recess. Each time, she found herself thinking about Samuel and how a small gesture could make a big difference. One Saturday morning, as Anna sat on the porch sketching, Jenna joined her with a cup of tea. "Whatcha drawing, sweetheart?" her mom asked, leaning over to look at the paper. Anna had drawn a picture of the park bench, but this time, it was surrounded by blooming flowers and birds in the trees. On the bench sat a man holding a yellow lunchbox, smiling softly. "It's Samuel," Anna said simply. "But I wanted to make it look happy, like how it feels now that he's with his family." Jenna smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "It's beautiful, Anna. Just like what you did for him." That afternoon, the Parkers received an unexpected letter in the mail. It was from Clara. Inside was a photo of Samuel, Clara, and their daughter standing in front of their home. Samuel held Anna's drawing in his hands, framed and hung on the wall behind them. The letter read, "Dear Parker family, we can't thank you enough for what you've done. Samuel is doing better each day, and your kindness has brought so much light into our lives. Anna, your drawing now hangs in our living room, a daily reminder of the moment everything changed for us. Please know you'll always have a special place in our hearts. With love and gratitude, Clara, Samuel, and Emily Grayson." Anna beamed as she read the letter, her small hands gripping the photo tightly. "Do you think we could visit them someday?" she asked, looking up at her parents. Mark chuckled, ruffling her hair. "I think they'd love that." The Grayson story continued to inspire not just the Parkers, but the entire community. The local newspaper ran a feature about Samuel's journey and Anna's role in it, calling her the little girl with the big heart. The article highlighted the importance of recognizing the humanity in everyone, no matter their circumstances. Anna didn't pay much attention to the newfound attention. She wasn't in it for the recognition. She was just glad Samuel was happy and safe. But she couldn't help but smile when her classmates at school started asking how they could help others too. Even Mrs. Allen, her teacher, used Anna's story as an example in her lessons on empathy and kindness. Months later, the Parkers visited the Graysons in Cincinnati. It was a warm reunion, filled with laughter, hugs, and stories of recovery and resilience. Anna and Emily quickly became friends, running around the backyard together while their parents caught up. Samuel, now healthier and more at peace, sat on the porch watching them with a contented smile. As the visit came to an end, Samuel knelt down once more to thank Anna. "You didn't just change my life," he said. "You reminded me that there's good in the world, and that even when things seem hopeless, one small act can make all the difference." Anna nodded, her cheeks flushing. "I'm just glad you're okay," she said softly. The trip home was quiet, but Anna felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She knew this wasn't the end of her journey in spreading kindness. If anything, it was just the beginning. The world could be a big, complicated place, but Anna had learned one simple truth: a little compassion could go a long way. And as she sat on her porch that evening, sketching the stars, she made a silent promise to always do her part to make the world a brighter place.